Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Around the Atlanta Sports Podcast. Blake Newsom joined by my co-host here, Mike and Neil, with another Falcons recap episode. We're sitting here. It's about midnight, recording about 3 hours later than we thought because Micah and I had to sit down and watch the downfall of the Philadelphia Phillies losing in Game 7 of the National League Championship Series. And that's right, I'm petty. I got my pennant Braves winning jersey on. They may have beat us the last 2 years, but they don't have one of these this year, and they still don't have a ring this decade, and that'll continue. So that was fun, and it was worth the delay. But yeah, we're also home of the first place Atlanta Falcons here
Yes,
on
sir.
the Around the A YouTube channel. Big win this weekend. People thought we were gonna lose, Micah. People thought that Tom Brady was still down there, and for whatever reason, he was gonna haunt us yet again. No, no, no. Let's not be silly, folks. The Falcons have beaten the Buccaneers in their last two meetings, and it shouldn't have even been close this Sunday. We're going to get into the X's and O's, but man, oh man, does it feel great to say the Atlanta Falcons are in first place near Halloween. That's just awesome. How you been,
Yes,
bro?
sir.
This has been sick.
I've been good, man. Basketball season finna start tomorrow. We'll see how that goes. Falcons been, it's been the best team we've had it in a couple of years, and more than a couple of years for a while. And I'm just loving Atlanta sports right now, and hopefully the Hawks don't let me down this year like they've done the past couple of years. But this is Falcons show. Let's get into the Falcons.
So, going into this season, right? I think we did our in-season predictions, or preseason season predictions, a couple weeks ago. Well, more than a couple weeks ago, but point is, I think both of us had the Falcons 4-3 at this point.
Hmm.
And we both had us first place in the division at this point. I mean, can we give ourselves like a mini round of applause because you and I know ball. Like, I I was wrong about the Packers game. I thought they'd lose to the Packers, beat the Jaguars. That was flipped. I've been right about the other five matchups. Um, and not to say that we were avoiding the loss show. Like, we meant to come on here after the Commanders game and talk about some things. And boy, there would have been a lot of good things to talk about.
Hmm.
But just scheduling didn't work out between me and you and Dylan. And Dylan, of course, unfortunately couldn't be with us here tonight. We hope he gets well soon. Connor had the late shift at work, so it's just Micah and I, the OGs, back on for the Gram. But yeah, it was still the Washington game was a little frustrating. I was there in person. Still had fun at the game, of course, but the defense only gave up 3 points when the Commanders started on their own side of the 50, and it was that opening drive field goal. Falcons took the tough loss. Ritter threw three picks, and we took it in the next week. And I said going into that week that this was probably going to be Ritter's make or break game. And we talked about it. What was it after the Jaguars game? I want to say we stated that this has to be about the part where maybe you even start considering the
Yep.
quarterback change because now we're 11 starts in, and it's no longer as small of a sample size. Could he have still started a couple extra games last year? Let's say that Bears game and then the two games following before we get to New Orleans after the bye. He'd be at 14 right now. Maybe those three games are a huge difference right now, Micah. Maybe some of these issues and some mechanical stuff that he's working out this year were fixed even earlier last year. And that is the one gripe I have about his development and with Arthur Smith right now. Because you know this, I defend the Falcons a lot. I defend Arthur Smith a lot. But I really do think he should have started earlier a little bit last year because I think he would be better for it. And even if he wasn't, we would know a little bit more about who he is and who he is going to be. 14 starts is a lot different than 11, and it's hard to get him now 7 starts into the year. But as it is, like this team is still sitting at 4-3. Like you and I said it all off season, this team could probably fumble into 10 or 11 wins with
Hmm.
Ritter and Heineke in a season, and we could still have the assets to go get the quarterback in the draft or in free agency this offseason comparative to where we were last year. We've said it all. Um, but we're still sitting here seeing the wins, but they're not pretty. It's the NFL. They're never going to be easy. But these have been some ugly PTSD like wins for the Falcons the last couple years, or I should say the last couple weeks. They're taking years off my mind. I got CTE like Antonio Brown out here.
We can say
But
the difference though between last year and this year. the games were ugly last year and they're still ugly this year, but the difference is we're actually coming out with a win in these games. Because last year all the games were at the end they were all close games except for that Cincinnati game, which we started coming back in. But yeah, all those games were close, but we just couldn't pull out the win. But like I said, the difference this year is we're actually getting the wins, and that's what Arthur he just wants to win, and we're not going to complain about a win. It's going to be things we could fix, but we're not complaining about a win.
Yeah, last year this team was in 16 one-score games. The one team to handle us was the Bengals, and the other games were all one score. Like this team was in it, and that's exactly why you and I had hope going into this year. We knew that the team would get exponentially better if they went quantity over quality and variancy, not going for the big stars like Lamar or if Saquon Barkley would have hit the market. People would have been hammering for him, but they hate the Bijan pick. But yeah, this team added, 10, 12 pieces this offseason with the 100 million cap that we finally were free of from all the Dimitrov hell contracts. And we get out of the cap and we draft really well. I think we hit on a lot of our picks, hopefully long term. And, because of that, this team has they even have an easier schedule this year because they finished in last place with all the tiebreakers. They get an easier schedule. So, like, all those things considered are why we were high on the Falcons this year. Like what Carl Dukes and Mike Bell said on the radio a couple of days ago. We're not saying this team is a Super Bowl contender by any means, but this team should win 10 or 11 games and make the playoffs. And I think you and I, Micah, would be absolutely happy with that type of season. This
Yeah.
isn't like the Braves, who people call me pessimistic with the Braves because it was World Series or bust. And why are you upset they won 104 games? It was World Series or bust, and they busted. They did. Why are you so positive about the Falcons? They're a lot worse. I'm like, catch me in 5 years and maybe my tone starts to change. But right now, I am super hyped about the season right now, and we got another win to break it down. And yeah, I'll let you start us off.
Um,
Monologue complete.
the Falcons won 16-3. It was a close game. Not a lot of scoring, not a lot of fireworks in this game. No, best side of the ball. Desmond Ritter didn't have the best. Uh, we'll talk about it more later, but he had three fumbles this game, and that hurt the team. B. John Robinson couldn't play much because he was out with he wasn't out, but he was limited with a sickness. Um, and like I said, this game was won on the defensive side of the ball. David Onyemata had a huge game. Richie Grant had a huge interception to win the game. It was moments in the game where Mike Evans or Chris Godwin would get the better of Jeff Okuda or AJ Terrell. But we kept them out the end zone, and that's what mattered. Coming to the end of it. And we seen Scotty Miller coming back against his old team with the longest play of the year for the Falcons. He loves his energy coming up after that catch. You could tell it was a little personal with that one right there. Um, but like I said, I'm personally a defensive guy. I love having a defense, and wasn't works on this. Defense. And come playoff time, if your defense isn't where it needs to be, if it's not top defense, if your defense isn't getting stops, you're not winning games in the playoffs. And the Falcons defense has been very very good for where I expected them. They've exceeded my expectations so far, and I'm just loving it right now.
So I guess we got to start with the biggest pregame storyline that was not even mentioned. Arthur Smith once again does not care about fantasy football.
Does not
He does
care.
not. And I think a lot of the hate that people have for Arthur Smith comes from the fact that his fantasy players don't perform very well. I'm not gonna lie. The couple times this year I have started Drake London at my flex, he has performed very well for me, and I've won those weeks. So I don't know what these people are talking about. I have Bijan in another league, and I'm 6-1. Huh? Go figure. So I'm not gonna lie. I did not draft Kyle Pitts in a league this year. I almost did, and a diehard Gators fan of mine, a friend of mine, sniped him from me, and I ended up having to settle for George Kittle. Oh boo hoo. Oh well, so bad for me. But I have some Falcons in the couple leagues I play in, and I tell you what, I'm winning with them. So I mean, does Arthur Smith really not care? I don't. I know. I think it's a little blown out of proportion. But I think the storyline is Arthur Smith only had Bijan play, I want to say, 2 snaps the entire game going into that final game-winning drive. And there were a couple storylines that came out of it, like he was sick the night of the game, and they wanted to see how he was, and he got worse and worse in the humidity before the kickoff. And also, he had a little bit of groin issues, a little bit of groin tightness. For the men out there, and that was another storyline. And there was no official announcement or designation of what truly happened, but that was definitely. I think those are definitely the 2 most likely scenarios. He either had a injury pregame or he was sick pregame, and for what it was worth, maybe he said, "Hey, coach, I can do this for this game-winning drive," and Arthur's like, "Okay, it's only a couple plays. Let's do it." And he got us a couple carries, and he cashed a couple half yarders for people on Prize Picks, and all was swell. But yeah, what was your main takeaway for it? Because in the game, it was a little frustrating to be like, okay, we really could use Bijan right now, but for the fantasy sake, I wasn't really even thinking of it that way.
I mean, I really think because Bijan he's a dog. I feel like he might have wanted to play, but Arthur Smith wanted to, be careful and not, um, make him go out there when he didn't have to, and you don't want to risk, like you said, he had groin tightness. You don't want to risk him further injuring himself, and that's why we're deep at that position in case Bijan can't go, in case Tyler can't go, in case Cordell can't go. We have depth, and if people was talking like Arthur Smith was just benching him for no reason. He had a problem with him or whatever. No coach is gonna bench one of their best players for no reason. And the comments I've seen from them saying that he wasn't playing is just crazy. And you think people would just stop betting on Falcons players at this point, or stop trade them in fantasy, or not draft them no more, since they've had a problem since Arthur Smith been here. So you're doing it to yourself at this point, because like we said, Arthur Smith does not care.
And I think the ironic thing about the whole scenario is it allowed the UGA Philly Eagle trolls to come crawling back out of their caves, and we hadn't heard from them from a couple weeks. And I dealt with some of them on Twitter, and I wish I had the self-awareness to not reply to all of them when I get the chance to, unlike you. So I gotta I gotta learn your way, Sensei. It all came back to well, this team decided to waste a top 10 draft pick instead of picking a impact player. Again, David Onyemata has been great. The sacks are starting to come for Calais Campbell and Grady Jarrett. I think we're pretty good without Jalen Carter right now. I think we are, and everything that comes with it. We've had that discussion multiple times. We don't need to go into the side of that. But what I will bring up is for the people that are like, why do you need a running back? You already have Cordero Patterson, Tyler Algier. They did combine for 195 all-purpose yards against a very, very good front seven. That is still a Super Bowl defense that the Bucs have from the last couple of years. They still have Vita Vea. I mean, really the only piece they're missing is Shaq Barrett from the team from a couple of years ago. Everybody else is still pretty much down there. Jamel Dean stayed. Levante David stayed. Devin White ended up not getting traded. Like the Super Bowl defense that they had from a couple years ago is still intact down there. But for the fans that say, well, you already had a running back. Yeah, because Cordero Patterson hasn't missed 4 games already this year and finally was taking his first running back snaps of the season on Sunday. And Tyler Algier, who I do dearly love, is sophomore slumping and is averaging under 3 yards a carry this year. What are we talking about? Like, just say you don't watch the games. And if that's the
Literally.
case, if you would rather have Jalen Carter that much, Go watch the Eagles. Like, we do not
Please.
care. We don't care. We're winning. They're winning. So be it. They're obviously going to be better than us. And for those of people that say, oh, well, it's shocker that the Eagles are a Super Bowl contender every year, they pick Georgia players. Well, I thought most Georgia fans hate Alabama with all their guts. Half their team is Alabama guys, too. It's not just you. You're not
They're
that
top players
special.
in the offense.
And simultaneously, there were many, many, many years the Eagles went 9-7 in a weak NFC East, back when it was the NFC least, and they were first round outs, but they're contenders every year. I mean, what are we talking about here? Like, it's just we have to have that discussion every week. It seems, and I hate it, but it's just par for life. To be honest, I'd rather have this conversation than Luka Trey. It's a little bit fresher, but it still sucks all the same. Any final comments before we move on to the Cordero Patterson spotlight?
Um, I think we touched all those.
All right. Well, take it away with what you have to say.
Well, the last show we talked about, we missed last week, like we said. But last show we was talking about how Cordell Patterson was back healthy, but we wasn't seeing him out there on the field or getting touches, and felt like we was just like, wasting him. And we talked about how his wife was on Twitter talking about he doesn't need to be a decoy. He needs the ball in his hands. Well, this week we finally got it. He had 10 carries, 56 yards, and he had big runs towards the end of the game. And we seen a little bit towards the beginning of the game. You seen a little bit of it's just the Cordell Patterson of the previous years. Then we seen once he started getting warm, I guess, or knocking off the rust, you start seeing him get back in form, and he had some explosive, a couple explosive runs. You seen the power come back, and we seen Cordell Patterson, and like you said, we have depth at position, um, so when B John is down or Algier is down, we have CP, or when CP is down, we have the other two, and we have I forget his name, Godwin. I forget how to say his last name, but he's also on the practice
Godwin
squad.
Ebukenye or whatever. Did he not get picked up elsewhere?
I believe they added
Well, that
but
isn't exactly
yeah, either
what I
way
heard.
we
Go ahead.
well, either way, we have depth at position, so it was nice seeing CP get back out there and having an impact on the game.
I think the interesting thing, because I think we still had a feeling going into the year that Cordero would still get some running back snaps, and that really wasn't the case until today, which means I guess he's only going to get snaps if Bijan or Tyler is not able to go. But we still thought he'd be getting some wide receiver snaps, and then they labeled him as the Joker preseason, and we knew he was battling something. But when we came back, we still expected the same running back snaps, him to go back to kick returner, him to go back to punt returner, and still be involved on a contract year and try to earn another contract with this team. Because I feel like if he deserves it, you have to bring him back, especially for the locker room vibes. And honestly, if they end up bringing him back for a third contract, I might have to cop a Cordero Patterson jersey because I just love the dude so much. But it was good, to see him involved again, and he really looked like himself. Not quite sure he looked exactly the same he did in 2021. That burst is slowly starting to go away. But he has had a great last 2 years for the team, and it's great to see him now possibly being able to do it again for a third straight year. Here's a conversation that's very slept on, unless you had something else to add. Okay. Well, that was a funny sounding. So, people also on the Twitter sphere love to say that we're still not targeting Ritter and Pitts, or Ritter is not targeting Pitts in London. That's absolutely not the case. They have been fully involved the last 3 or 4 weeks now. Pitts is now finally starting to get fully healthy, and you're seeing his impact. And I talked about this pre-show. Like, has Ritter still made a lot of mistakes, and do I think he should have started earlier last year and maybe he'd be better for it? Yeah. But what I will say is his arm is improving. His arm is improving week by week, and he's a lot more mobile than we thought. Like if he could just cut down on the turnovers, I think something's there for the short term. I really do think that the turnovers is what's killing him right now, because he's finding his playmakers, and when he's asked to run, he is running effectively, unless he's at the 1 yard line, of course. But he is finding your top 10 picks that are generational talents, more so Pitts than London, but these, shocker to to no surprise, the Falcons are having success throwing to these guys, and can't say that we weren't the first to tell people that it was coming.
Yeah, like we have these weapons, and we have an office. We have weapons everywhere, and people was complaining about Janu Smith getting all the tight end targets, or Mac Hollins getting all the targets. We have weapons, and like we said, once this offense was able to get into form, we was gonna start seeing those um Drake London games. You're gonna start seeing we knew the targets were coming. And in this game, Drake London had 6 receptions for 54 yards. He almost had what I think should have been a touchdown because he broke the plane, but they say his hand was out of bounds. But Kyle Pitts, he had 3 receptions, 47 yards, had a big catch, and yards after catch, to get us in field goal range to win the game. And like we said, once this offense gets into form, it's going to be a hard offense for defenses to stop. We just need Ritter to bring the turnover down, and we like this offense has so much potential. Whether Ritter is the quarterback of this team going forward, or not, this team has Pitts, London, Bijan. Um, there are we're gonna use them. It may be weeks or games where you might see a little less of this one, less of that one. It doesn't mean we're not looking for them. We're purposely like going away from it. I don't understand people's mindset sometime in that, but yeah, I like to see Arthur Smith and Desmond Ritter continue to quiet the delusional side of the fan base.
And those delusional side of the fan base aren't really fans. All they care about is when the team does something bad. They're what they think. They're what people portray me as a Braves fan. They think that I'm actually rooting against the team and all that. But that's just a whole different topic for another day. But here's something that they do love to focus on. Desmond Ritter had 3 road sign fumbles, specifically 2 at the 1 yard line. One resulted in a touchback, which almost turned the game on its head. And Micah, I don't know if you know this. I was on a Twitter space for about the entirety of this game, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I have been pretty positive about we talk a lot. And I've been pretty positive about the Falcons for most of this season. Like, I have been pretty good at being behaved and not getting out of control when it comes to my fandom, right? I feel like I've been pretty good. I'm not going to lie. I made it almost 7 games. Almost 7 games. I'm really proud of myself. Because as soon as I started being a little bit positive, I was hyped. I was cussing on the space, excited that Ritter walked it in for a touchdown. I was like, let's go, Dez. Let's fucking go, Dez. Let's, every bleep that there possibly is. That's how we do it. Let's go. And within about 20 seconds, everything was flipped on its head because I see that dummy fumbled it for a touchback. And I'm like, you see, guys, this is why I'm not positive. This is why I'm pessimistic. This is why I don't have hope. And I flippin' lost it for the next, I don't know, 10 minutes. I'm like, the game should have been over. That should have been the game when that should have been the game sealing touchdown. They were one stop away from victory. That changes everything. Why are we so stupid every time with this team? And when Richie Grant got the interception, I wasn't even that happy. I was still like, yay, that should have been the game sealer. But here we are still in a hell fight. And the Falcons go 3 and out that next possession. I'm just like, they don't want it. They just don't want it. And everybody's kind of a little upset with me at this point. I understand it because I was kind of bringing the mood down. But my goodness, the one time I finally start to get positive, I start to celebrate this team. They rip it from me within a matter of seconds, saying, that's a touchback. And I'm just like, we can't do anything. We just can't do anything. Now, thank God, Pitts decides to get open, and they decide to use Bijan to get Koo a little bit closer, and we hit the game winner. And it's no Brady, no problem for us. We take first place. But gosh, man, just to focus on that third one for a second, that would have iced the game. Dive for
Hmm.
the end zone. You're right there. You did it earlier. You got Winfield and David crawling at your back. All you got to do is dive to the end zone for celebration for style points, and it secures the touchdown. Maybe now he's learned. Maybe now he has. The first two, I'm not absolutely sure were his fault. Caleb McGarry got put on a turnstile once again by a good front seven by the Bucks. He doesn't really get a break. He's faced some demons on that edge this year, so I'll give him a little bit of slack. That he hasn't been quite what he was last year when you're trying to pass the ball more, and we faced some absolute goons on the line. But gosh, man, it didn't make things any easier for him. Um, that should have been 3 points before half. We should have been up at halftime. And then even Drake London almost scoring a touchdown, so then it almost being a touchback. And then I'm like, oh, 1 yard line. Okay. Just for Drew Dalman to do his thing again and put it into the ground. And Ritter still had a chance to grab it. And I'm like, okay, second goal at the 4. Not ideal, but it's better than what we have been. And we give it up. And I do have a second thought to make on the red zone offense after we cover the fumbles. But yeah, the first one was not Ritter's fault. That was a blindside sack by, McGarry, where he had to put the ball in the end zone. There was no timeouts left because of poor timeout usage by Arthur Smith, not going to lie. Second one can go about 50-50 because we have had snap count issues with Dalman the last couple of years. Third one, no excuse. You're at the goal line. Just hold the ball over or die for style points and get the 6 points. Don't dilly-dally walking into the end zone. Don't be like Tyrann Mathieu in the 2011 SEC Championship versus your Bulldogs. But, yeah, that has to change. Okay, before you go into your monologue, would you rather him throw 3 interceptions or have 3 red zone fumbles? If you had to choose.
I don't know. Like 3 interceptions anywhere or in the red zone?
Just anywhere.
I go with
Because I guess 2 of
interceptions
them were in the
because
red zone.
if we in the red zone, we gotta score. You just throw interceptions like he did against the Commanders. You know, we we not in scoring position, but we in the red zone. You gotta at least end the drive with 3.
Well, yeah, I guess when you think about it, when you're throwing an interception, there's a chance he throws it to the end zone and then it's a touchback. But if you fumble it, they just hopefully pick it up and only go a yard or 2 forward, and then they're backed up, and you hope your defense can still get the stop. But the interception, like, that's just more deflating, I think, because that is on Ritter, unless it's like a tip ball or someone ran the wrong route. But sometimes the fumbles can come back to, oh, it was a botched snap, or, oh, Bijan/allergy, or didn't take it the right way, or, you know, just the edge made a great play busting through the backfield. So I don't know. If I had to choose, I'd rather him have 3 red zone fumbles and 3 interceptions. That 2 were in the red zone. But a win is a win is a win is a win. But anyways, you get to your thought process on each of the 3 fumbles.
I mean, I'm with you with the first 2. The line wasn't giving him much hope. With the sack fumble. And then the snapping the ball and fumble. That could go either way. The, you know, they wasn't poised. You could tell that they tried to rush it, and we gave it the ball when we could have had points. That was both the red zone fumbles was frustrating because we was in position to score and we didn't score. And we got the ball back to the Buccaneers. But that last one made me. I was so hyped, and it all just came right back down. Literally, everyone, if you play football when you was younger, if you carried the ball, receiver, tight end, running back, everyone knows to have the ball towards the sideline. He ran the ball had the ball closest to where the defender was at, and he punched it out. Ritter, this wasn't his first time either doing that, and this is mistakes that he shouldn't be making at this point. he has to know if he's going to run the ball, get the ball away, get the ball to the towards sideline, man. You can't afford those type of mistakes. And like you said, he could have dove into the end zone. Uh, that was so deflated. I just thought the game was over. And like you said, with the Richard Grant interception, that could have been the end of the game too. And then we go 3-and-out. And the Falcons still managed to win this game. The Buccaneers are pretty out bad for that loss, because we literally gift wrapped a win for them, and they didn't accept the gift. And but with Desmond Ritter, he just like you said before the show, if he get these turnovers down and you know manage the game like we've been wanting him to do from the beginning of the season, he's a serviceable quarterback, and this offense is
Bro's
well.
taking my take. Go ahead at this point.
Wait, yeah, that's what he was gonna say. I still the hope. I'll let you go ahead from there.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much I said that the that made me lose my whole train of thought. My hot take is that if Ritter can at least cut down on the turnovers, he can easily be a top 20 quarterback by the end of the season, which is what you would love to see. Because people
Mhm.
are looking at him as the 40th best quarterback in the league going into the year, and if he can be inside the top 20 after 1 year of development, maybe there's still a possibility you go for someone else in the future, in this off season, I should say. But you know that you at least have something there, and that he's still developmental, and he's at least a very good backup if that's the case. Because that's what you want out of backup quarterbacks. You don't want them turning the ball over. You want them to be very non-turnover prone, and he has to figure that out, even if he wants to be the future backup of this team, which, I think is not the worst case scenario. I wouldn't mind if he was the next Matt Schaub for this team. Um, where we can trust him to come out there every once in a while. But he has to get down those turnovers because, as I said earlier, like he's a lot more mobile than what we thought. People thought there'd be a drop off in his running ability from going from Marcus Mariota to him, because Marcus has been at it for 9 or 10 years. And when Marcus was running it, he had a couple drops of his own too. But he was pretty consistent with being able to run the rock. But his arm talent, I think, is already better than Mariota's. Like, we are 7 games into the season, and he's already pretty much passed Mariota in yards on the year, and that's
Mhm.
incredible to see. And his arm talent, I think, just has the ability to keep improving way past what Mariota's was, because again, Marcus was in the league 8-9 years. Like, he pretty much was who he was. Ritter is only 11 starts in, and you just got to keep pushing him out there for a little bit longer. But in regards to what my other take was a couple weeks ago, we noted how the earliest you could even think about the switch was after this game, because we said they're definitely going to give him the 2 games at home. You'd like to win one of those games, and if that's the case, they're going to give him that game down in Tampa. That's division. That's start 11. And I said, if the Falcons lose that game, maybe you start thinking about it. Like, maybe that's the part where you start to question it. The fan base was already on his butt right away. But they gave Marcus 13 starts last year, and they hammered for this kid all offseason. Regardless of what you think Arthur needs to do, and yeah, that's maybe one thing I will not give him as much credit for, is I think he maybe could have pulled the plug on him a little bit earlier, and they could have been a little bit more aggressive with other options, not named Lamar Jackson and breaking the bank. Um, I thought the earliest that him and Terry would even start considering it was after this loss. If we were to lose and we'd be under 500, back to third place in the division, because then you got the homecoming this weekend, which we'll talk later about with Tennessee. I don't know where we go from now, because now you're sitting back over 500, and you like our odds against Will Levis slash Malik Willis this weekend that he can outduel them. There's a chance you're sitting 5-3, coming back home where you're 3-1 this year, to greet the new nightmare Kirk Cousins without Jay Jettis and possibly no Daniel Hunter. He might even be on your team by that point. At this case, it looks like Marcus or Desmond might hit that 13 start mark like Marcus has. Because, again, we're winning games, and they're not going to switch them, even if it's ugly, if we're continuing to win.
Yep. Like I said, Arthur Smith is literally every game we won, ugly, pretty, whatever. Arthur Smith literally is a win. He continues to defend his quarterback, and though I don't like how he defends him sometimes. I like that he's doing that because if he's gonna stick with him, I want that the coach that's gonna have his back, that's gonna not bash him in front of the media, that's gonna continue to lift him up. And I like how the team is doing the same with Ritter. Janu Smith saying Desmond Ritter's got it. We see the team celebrating with them. We see Cordell Patterson hyping him up after Kyle Pitts. Uh, Getting us in field goal range. We see the support with the team, and they all got Desmond Ritter's back, and we just need him to perform at this point.
Any final thoughts before we move on to the defensive side of the football? I'll take that as a no. All right, folks. Let's talk about something that is still really exciting to see. Something we're not quite used to. You, as a Georgia fan, are more used to it on your Saturdays, but the Falcons' defense continues to impress. You know, Caden Ellis, Calais Campbell, and Jesse Bates, the three big signings, have all been such booms um, this free agency class, and they've all been such great in the production category. Gosh, it's you can really trust them with anything. Like, ironically, they did end up going down and giving up the game time field goal where they were goal to goal, and I was like, no, not like this. I was like, just let him score, and Anyamata ends up coming on clutch for the sack. It does suck that we are still without Troy Anderson. Like, I'm not so sure what his future development is because now he's going into year 3 still very raw. So I'm a little nervous now with his injury that they might have missed that second round pick. But other than that, like, Nate Landman has just filled in nicely. Like, you and I
Yeah,
hammered the table for months about Rashawn Evans, and because there's no Rashawn Evans, we can't cut Michael Walker. And Jalen Hawkins is going to be playing down in the slot more, and he's going to be playing more in the sub linebacker spot. Now he's with the Chargers. We'll talk about him later. And all of a sudden, dun da da dun, out of nowhere comes trotting Nate Landman with 13 tackles, almost said sacks, on the game. That'd have been something. 13 tackles on the game, and this defense was flying all over the field. I mean, like, again, as you said earlier, Godwin and Evans are going to get theirs. And I think that maybe Nielsen could align them up a little bit better. I think you could have saw a little bit more of Akuda on Evans in comparison. I think you could have saw a little bit more AJ on Godwin because I think it fits the size matchups a little bit better. But, ultimately, like, Evans is going to get his own. He ended up getting almost a push off that wasn't called on AJ Terrell for the lone touchdown the Falcons defense gave up in the entire game. And yeah, they pretty much locked him down in the second half. Baker threw Richie Grant a pick, just like what he used to do in his UCF days. Winning in Tampa against USF because they absolutely own that rivalry. And I'm pretty sure we have the least amount of rushing touchdowns allowed in the league, and we got a big
and they
test this next weekend.
only allowed one for the entire season so far.
What are your thoughts on the pressure coming back, man? Like, we're seeing sacks now, and that's really helping. Like, Anyamata, that might have been a touchdown, and maybe we do end up losing that game if it's a touchdown. But nope, he brings down Mr. Mayfield, and the Falcons secure a buzzer-beating win.
I mean, I'm loving it. We had 3 sacks, 2 forced fumbles. Ayamada was the highest rated interior defensive lineman for the week. I'm loving it. We've been saying the past couple of weeks we're getting the pressure. The pressure is there. The pressure is there. We're not getting the sacks, but this week we've seen the sacks. Calais Campbell, Grady Jarrett, Ayamada. You loving it, and we still. I still think Caden Ellis has his coming from the linebacker position. We still got some Lorenzo Carter. I still think he has his coming. Uh, Arnold Ebiketie. We have some dogs on this defense. So like I said, we're getting the pressure, and the sacks will come. And we'll talk a little bit more about a potential addition like we did last week. But like you can't say more than I can't be upset with what we've seen so far with the pressure.
And last year, like, if the Falcons would have had 13-point showings from the defense, no way that team doesn't win 10 games last year. And they were completely awful. They were just well coached to keep themselves in games. But just to think that the Falcons would be giving up 13 points on average a game sometime in my lifetime is something that I feel like I would have had a dream or had a Madden dynasty to even have a chance of. But even I thought that this defense would take a little bit to gel. Like I thought that there'd be a possibility that they wouldn't gel until this point in the season. That'd be about game 8 that you're starting to see Jesse Bates settled in. You're going to see Kaden Ellis settled in. You're going to see some of this pass rush come together. And that was more so the case. And maybe that is the case altogether. Maybe they're just getting started. Like maybe we're starting to talk about having a
That's
brick iron
scary.
wall. And that is something scary to see. Like possibility of giving up 10, 13 points per game. Like there's no way that Ritter and even if it's not him, Bijan and Algier can't get you 14. And this team still is very much in the window to win the South and win 10 plus games.
Hmm. I mean, like you said, if we're this is the best defense we've had. I don't know if I've seen a better defense for the Falcons since I've started watching Falcons football, and I love great defense. Like I'm gonna keep saying, I love great defenses, and if we're able to keep hold teams to 13 points, like that's amazing. I love the the relationship that Jesse Bates has with the entire secondary. Anytime you see a big play, he's the first one in AJ Terrell's face, Jeff Okudah's face, D. Alford's face, doing their little handshake, getting hype. I love it. And same thing with the defensive line when somebody can sack Grady Jarrett in their face, jumping on them, hyping them up. And I just love the relationships on the defense and how they're all gelled. Like you said, we didn't think they'd be gelled at this point. It's would not have been gelled that quick, uh, that early in the season. But here we are, and we're holding the Buccaneers to 13 points in a game with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. One touchdown. One touchdown. This defense is here, and we're just at the beginning, man. Just at the beginning.
And like we mentioned this earlier, this game should have never been close. It really shouldn't have. And the Falcons only gave up one touchdown. And still it had to come down to the kicker saving the day. From 51 yards out. One thing this franchise has at least gotten right over history is they've always had good kickers to bail us out. All the years that we had Matty Ice going to get the game-winning drive, and Matt Bryant would put it home. This time it was
That man, Young Way, cool.
from 51 yards out, sends Atlanta home with the victory. A lot of Falcons fans there and Tampa Bay, including Mr. Beast, who was signed for 48 hours. And the Atlanta Falcons admin coming in with the Onyeka alley oop slam dunk, saying, make the game winning field goal and win $1 million. That's exactly what Koo did. He got a nice little signing bonus from Mr. Beast right there. And the Falcons go to 4-3, first in the division. And isn't it beautiful to see the Saints also lost on Thursday night, which I think
Yes,
was a
sir.
perfect setup because even if we ended up losing this game, we would have only been in second place because the Saints lost. So it was like, okay,
Mhm.
a loss wouldn't be quite as bad on Sunday. It didn't matter. We won anyways because we're just those guys. We're what Jack Peterson said about the 2021 Braves. We're those MFers. And Young Wei Koo is that MFer. You know what Jesse Bates said? He's never seen a kicker walk around so cocky, and that's good to see from him. We talked about it in preseason, and gosh, were we idiots saying, is he starting to peak? Is he at the top of his kingdom? And is he going to only come down from this? And since then, he has hit 3 game-winning kicks in that process, and he's only missed 1 kick through 7 games. He's on pace to miss 2 or 3 all year. I'd perfectly live with that. And that's exactly where we're sitting with Koo, and it's good to get another win. How stressed were you?
Man, I was at a restaurant and I was faced away from the TV, so I had to turn my whole body to just look up at the TV. I'm glad it didn't cut out this time like the other game, but Young Way Cool, he's clutch. He's that and our faith was in Young Way Cool making that field goal. We had a little scared during preseason and season, but that 6 ain't hurting us no more right now. He's good. But one thing that people
Yeah, sorry guys, for that cut. Micah was having a little bit of technical issues. It is, towards the middle of the night, so I'm sure college dorm Wi-Fi isn't the greatest, but sorry about that one, and I'll let him try to say what he was saying about the man Youngway Koo a second time. Take it away, bud.
yeah, Young Wei Koo, he's been clutch, and we've seen that he's that guy. But one thing people hasn't have not really been talking about is how we're getting into field goal range for those wins, putting him in position to win the game. And Desmond Ritter has been good at that, excluding the Commanders game. He's been good at that late game drive to get us into field goal range to win the game. Kyle Pitts had a big catch and run after catch this Sunday that put us into field goal range. And you know I'm that was a thing where every time we was in position, Matt Ryan would always get us into field goal range for us to win. And it's nice to see
He's the
that
choker. He's the choker. Shut up.
it's nice to see that Desmond Ritter is able to do that too, because that's something us Falcons fans are used to uh with Matt Ryan being our quarterback. He's been the quarterback my entire life.
Yeah, we didn't get to experience Vic, and there's reasons I wish I did, but maybe I would be one of those stupid haters for Matt Ryan, and for that I'm grateful. I am grateful. I am not. But jumping into that last drive, it was amazing. Uh, that the first read was a little short to Kyle Pitts' feet. Maybe it was still catchable, but it was a ball that Ritter maybe could have scrambled for, maybe could have thrown a little bit better. But it all set up for the next 2nd and 10 play where he finds him once again. He cuts up the seam. That knee looked great while doing it, and it gets us
Hmm.
almost into field goal range. And Arthur said, "You know what? Bijan's got a couple in him." And he gets us even closer to nail that game-winning kick. And I think maybe we weren't quite as nervous because even if he missed the kick, we were still playing for overtime. It was a tie game, so I
Yep.
feel like kicks are obviously a little bit less stressful. Where it's like, if he blocks it, if it's shanked, oh well, we can still win in overtime. I mean, we'd still be angry in the moment, but overall, it wasn't the if he missed his, the game isn't over. Um, but talking about how that last drive was set up. You go right to Pitts. Yet again, we had it in the Texans game. You had it in this game. London wasn't targeted, and Bijan didn't catch a pass, but every single play of that last drive goes to Pitts and it goes to Bijan. You go to those top 10 picks. London just didn't get involved because we didn't have to go that far. Um, and that's how you win the game. But going through that last drive in general, setting up for that coup kick, where were your nerves at, and how do you like Arthur Smith's play calling and how it played out?
I mean, just like you talked about with that Texas game, the blueprint's there to go go for your top 10 picks. Those that's what we drafted them for, to win us games. And like you said, it was a tight game, so field goal or not, us getting a field goal position or not, we would have overtime. So I wasn't like, oh my gosh, we need this, or I was scared of nothing, because we had overtime if something went wrong or something didn't happen. But I was very hyped in the restaurant uh after Kyle Pitts got that ball and took us to field goal range.
I was on the
And
space too.
I know people was probably looking at me because one thing about me, when I'm watching Falcons football, I'm not holding in my excitement.
No.
Uh,
Maybe if we're in person, like if I'm at the game, maybe a little bit. But when I'm at home, I am not a human being. And sometimes my parents don't like watching the games with me for that reason. I just watch them down here by my own, with my piece. And for a lot of our lives, they've been very painful. So like, I understand some of that pessimism and some of that rage. But yeah, the restaurant, and you're in Alabama, so I know there's definitely were other Falcons fans there, but you're in Saints territory as well. So I'm sure it was fun to just blow it in front of all their faces too, right?
man. I, like I gotta show my Atlanta pride everywhere, man. Um, but yeah, I wasn't I wasn't scared, but he hit that field goal. Let's go! Literally, I literally know people had to be looking at me because I'm in a restaurant yelling. They probably was like, "What is he talking about?" The people that wasn't paying attention to the game, but I'm gonna show my Atlanta pride. I'm a ATLN, and rise up, go Hawks, go Braves, all that.
Throw your hands in the air and wave them like you just don't care. And wave the Falcons did Jalen Hawkins. How was that transition? Cringy as hell, but we'll ride with it. Jalen Hawkins was cut pretty much out of nowhere. I was actually on a Hawk space talking about the potential extensions of Onyeka Okongwu, which I wish that you'll join more of in the future. Join some more of the spaces I do join, and when you have the chance to, because they're a lot like this, and we can just share our own opinion live. They're good fun, but a surprise to me that Jalen Hawkins was cut, and it's not because he's played bad, but I feel like Richie Grant hasn't taken that next step quite yet, like we wanted him to. And also the possibility, as we talked about, off camera, Jalen Hawkins has the potential to also play a little bit of, sub linebacker. And the Falcons are just really, really thin at linebacker right now. Having to continue to hope that Nate Landman doesn't return to practice squad player form. Who do you have out there that's left? Like Caden Ellis, you want him to be able to rush the passer a little bit more. You can't just hope that he continues to do what he's been doing because behind him, there's nobody. There's no more Michael Walker, no more Rashawn Evans, no more Troy Anderson for the rest of the year. Like, we are desperately thin at linebacker, and we're really not seeing that production that we were really hoping for out of Richie Grant. He did have a really great play to seal us the win on Sunday, or at least part of the sealing of the win allowed him. There's a chance the Bucks get a field goal there, and they kick another field goal, and then Koo's just hitting it for overtime, and who knows what happens. But Richie Grant is in year 3, and he's still not coming along as quickly as we would hope he would. So this, kind of caught me off guard because I feel like throughout the 3 years now going into the fourth with Jalen Hawkins, he was a 5th-round pick out of the Pac-12. I feel like he's always played above expectations for both Dan Quinn and Thomas Dimitroff, and now continuing it on with Terry Fontenot and Arthur Smith. This really caught me off guard. I didn't think that he would be extended after this year, and I really did think that DeMarco Helms is eventually going to be whatever his replacement is, unless they find some value in free agency because, they also let Isaiah Oliver go. But this really caught me off guard, and, the Chargers picked him up right away, so he went from the Falcons of the NFC to the Falcons of the AFC. What was your takeaway?
Um, I feel like we like it did surprise me too because he was a nice little depth piece. He was good for the locker room. He always had the energy, and throughout the last couple of years, you've seen those energy plays from him. I mean, those yeah, like those we've seen the potential in him where he would have a big play here, a big play here. Um, but he was cut, and the Chargers later picked him up, and unfortunately, after his first practice, so hopefully he gets well soon. It's nothing serious, and hopefully he can continue his career with the Chargers if they choose to keep him on the squad. They picked him up to fill in for one of their players who was out with a heel injury, and he unfortunately ended up getting injured too. So, but Jalen Hawkins, I wish the best for him. He was always a nice energy guy. He was good for the fan base. There's never anything bad to say about him. I wish the best for him.
Yeah, just a really tough week for him altogether. And hopefully things do go well, but yeah, it's just that came out of nowhere. It it really did. It wasn't like the writing was on the wall for him. Like, oh, one more bad game, he gets cut. It was just out of nowhere. Like, oh, they're cutting Jalen Hawkins because he had his best camp so far, and I was thinking, you know what, maybe he clears waivers like Parker Hesse did, like Frank Darby did, like all these guys that we do end up keeping, and then he's going to be elevated back to the 53 in a month from now. But the Chargers, swooped in because they've lost so many other pieces, and their defense is in more shambles than ours is right now. Um, just kind of sucks because I was a fan of him. He was he always had some of the greater interviews. He was one of those the good guys in the clubhouse. He provided a lot of meme content for us, like Drake London, like Cordero Patterson, like Frank Darby. He was in there with the mix of those guys. He said, "Hey, I can be a wide receiver if you want me to," but I wish the best for Jalen Hawkins, and hopefully this means Richie Grant's going to figure some things out. Not to say he's been bad by any means, and I definitely think he's being overshadowed by Jesse Bates's, rapid improvement in what he provides to the secondary. But this is, Darren Hall's another guy who's gone. Like we're thinner at areas that I would like us to not be, and maybe that means that they're setting up, for a move later on, whether it's an extension or a deadline acquisition. But before we get to trade deadline talk, one more move to knock out. He decided he didn't want to be a Carolina Panther again. He went back to them for a couple months. My guy, Demir Bird, who I met at broadcast camp like 2 years ago, and the South Carolina graduate, he decided that he was more of a ATLian than a Carolina boy after all. Comes back to the first place. It must be amazing to go from a last place team to a first place team, which Demir Bird did. He's back with the Atlanta Falcons practice squad. That must be a little awkward because he has relationships with all those guys in those locker rooms, and he clearly loves it up there. If he did end up going back, he definitely has relationships with everybody in that organization. And now he does here, reconnecting once again. And they're probably like, why'd you leave us to just come back? And I'm sure there's a little bit of a notch, knots in relationships because he keeps flipping back and forth between the teams. I this slipped through the cracks by me. I had no idea that re-signed Amir Bird, but amazing to see. It is good receiver depth at the end of the day. But yeah, your thoughts?
I mean, like you said, it's depth. Arthur Smith, like we said, he loves the speedy receivers, and that's exactly what Demir Bird is. You seen last year, he was able to help us in that Carolina game where PJ Walker, DJ Moore, yeah, where he got the touchdown for us and showed his speed out of nowhere. And the Mirror Bird, like we said, is depth, and not gonna complain about getting depth.
Do you think he has another big catch in store when we go up to Carolina in week 14, week 15?
uh, if he sees the field, I doubt he sees the field with Matt Collins, Van Jefferson, Scotty Miller, all ahead of him. So
Cordero might be back in that mix again, hopefully.
yeah,
But good depth and it's familiarity in the locker room.
yeah.
Trade deadline. Halloween. I'll be 20 by then. And not good news for Falcons fans for the Danielle Hunter case is that the Vikings won 3 out of their last 4, had a big upset win over Brock Purdy and company, who looks like his insanity run's also coming to an end. He threw a horrendous pick and lost him that game that night, and he was part of the reason they weren't able to pull that win away from the Browns, and maybe his luck is starting to end. I definitely know he has the capability to be a game manager, and he definitely was better than Mr. Irrelevant. He definitely was a 4th or 5th rounder that happened just to fall. But I just find it ironic that, people love him so much but hate Desmond Ritter so much, just because he's on a stack team. Like, Desmond Ritter could be great for the Niners, too. He genuinely could be. But point in case is that the Vikings won, and we'll have to see them the week after next. And there's a possibility that Danielle Hunter's still on that team and not an Atlanta Falcon, and it makes it, tougher in 2 different assets. But yeah, the trade deadline is Halloween, and I feel like the trade deadline in the NFL is like the worst out of the big 4. MLB always has stuff, a lot of stuff. NBA has literal superstars going back and
Literally.
forth. But the MLB has lots and lots of moves. I feel like the MLB probably has the most moves. The NBA has superstars, and the NHL, for what it's worth, is like really late in the season. So sometimes the moves are like crazy, like whoa, how'd that happen? But with the NFL, it's like, oh, this team got a 5th corner. This team got a 3rd quarterback. Oh, this guy won. That's the blockbuster one, but he's a career XYZ. Do we really expect it to be different this year?
I mean, we Falcons make a big trade deadline move in, I don't know, ever since I've been watching. Um, but I personally want to see a move made during this deadline. I think we should, given like we said, the door is open for us to be number one in the NFC South and for us to host the
Yes.
home playoff game this year.
Oh, I don't want to
And
be destroyed by the Cowboys. Oh, but I'd be happy to be there. But I don't want to be destroyed by the Cowboys. Oh, but I'd be happy to be there. Oh, yin and yang.
I like our chances against them right now if the playoff picture stays the same. But my personal opinions of our most needed addition. Blake already told me his, so I'm not gonna steal his. I'm gonna go with what we've been talking about the past couple of weeks, and I'm saying a pass rusher. Uh, like Blake said, Daniil Hunter might be off the table at this point with the Vikings starting winning games, and they had a huge win over the 49ers, who many would say is the best team in the NFL right now. I don't see them wanting to trade one of their best defenders. After that, seeing that they have a team that could win, and so I'm looking at right now. I'm looking at Chase Young and Montez Sweat from Commanders. They've been losing games and look like they might be sellers at the deadline. So if we're able to snatch one of them, I think that's if we get another good pass rusher, the sacks are going to start coming in like crazy because we like we've been saying the past
One
couple of
away.
weeks.
We're one away. One
Yep.
guy.
Like we've been saying the past couple of weeks, the pressure is there. The pressure is there. We get that changer coming off the edge. It's nightmares for opposing quarterbacks and offensive lines, and hopefully we're able to get a deal done to get a pass rusher added to this team.
I know there's the other possibility of Frank Clark. I mean, that wouldn't be a bad backup plan, but I'm not so certain that he's really that last guy we need. I mean, hasn't he been what under mediocre since like 2018?
Yeah, Frank Clark hasn't been very present or what some would say is himself. Like he's taken a dip down toward going towards the end of his career. He hasn't looked like Frank Clark that we've seen with the Chiefs since the Super Bowl against the Niners.
And what would you say the more realistic need would be for the deadline if it wasn't going to be a last pass rusher? What do you think our second need would be as like a fallback option?
I mean, at this point, I'd be stealing what you said earlier, um, but do I want to steal it? Um, Well, keeping it realistic, I'm gonna just go with it. We need another we need another
Linebacker.
linebacker.
We need a linebacker. We need a linebacker. Wait, me said that. I said that. Me. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's 100% Blake. It wasn't. But yeah, we need another linebacker because we're thin there, and like we said, we want to see Kaden Ellis starting to get the sacks we see he was getting in New Orleans with Ryan Nielsen, and I'm sure Ryan Nielsen wants to start sending him to pressure the quarterback more, but he really hasn't been able to do that with uh, Trey Anderson being injured and Nate Lamon. Nate Lamon's been pretty solid for us, but we still have to be cautionary because like we said, we're thin out there and we can't risk someone getting hurt or leaving the middle of the field open. So I think if we don't go after another edge rusher, a pass rusher, we need to go ahead and get that linebacker.
I gotta interrupt for a public service announcement. I'm live in a Braves group chat right now with an old buddy of mine who's a coworker that used to work with me at the Braves, now works at my new job, and he goes to college for play-by-play as well. He's a huge Braves fan, not so much a Falcons fan, so I don't think this is the program he's listening to. But if you are, appreciate it, Brady. I know we've had arguments, but this is hilarious. A couple months ago, he made an edit of me in a Phillies jersey that used to be my old Twitter profile picture, saying that they were really my team. So I had to get my get back on Sunday when the Falcons ended up beating um, the Bucks, and I had to send him a Cash App request, and I knew he wasn't gonna accept, but I sent it to him just to piss him off anyway, and he sent me a screenshot back just right now, saying, Blake, stop Cash Apping me, or Cash App requesting me, and I sent him a $5 request saying Tom Brady never beat Desmond Ritter, lol, and he sends me a screenshot. I don't know if it's gonna pull up on the camera, but you can see the top one is saying reminder Blake Newsom requested 5 for Brady never beat Ritter on the 17th. And then the one below that is a Gmail notification saying I did it. And then the one after that is just the basic Apple Mail app. So that's hilarious. It was all over his phone screen. So job was well done. I had to interrupt that because that's just hilarious. But Tom Brady really be living rent free in Ritter's head. Oh, other way around. But
Yeah.
yeah, he never beat him. Not my goat, that's for sure. But regarding the linebackers, yeah, we need somebody. Evans is not out there anymore. Waited too long with that. You cut Michael Walker, I think, a little prematurely. I think Michael Walker still could have been a very good depth piece for this team. Still on a rookie contract. It just made sense to keep him. But another Fontenot era, or excuse me, a Dimitrov era player where Fontenot and Arthur were like, we don't see the need for you. We just don't. And he went from being like the most underrated player on this defense 2 years ago to not even being a part of it anymore. Um, you lost Troy Anderson for the season, and you're relying on guys like Nate Landman to continue it and Tate Davis, and you just don't have enough depth there. So I would like doesn't have to be a starter, but I think at least a borderline level starter linebacker play addition, I think would definitely be the most necessary thing. Or if you were to want to get another swing tackle, because you are pretty thin at that position too, with McGarry continuing to progress from what he was the year before. Simultaneously, you have Greenridge out for the year. You cut Afedi too early. Hennessy's out early. You cut Mayfield, which was maybe a good decision at the end of the day. I think we're a little thinner at the offensive line than we thought we would be going into the year, and it still performed much better than lines of the past. They did give up 7. They did end up giving 7 sacks up to the Lions, but those would be my other, requests. Like maybe we get some sort of swing tackle / guard, or maybe we get another linebacker. But I would love Danielle Hunter. Especially because we'll be playing him the week after the
Mm-hmm.
deadline. But I don't see it happening anymore. Any final thoughts on the trade deadline, or even if it's not Falcons related, what you expect on how it'll go in total?
I just want to see the Falcons go out there and make a move, capitalize on us, being able to get number one in the South, and if we do make a trade, hopefully we're able to make a trade that isn't going to be a rental, and it's something that be long term to, help us solidify whatever we're trading for, whatever room, like linebacker room, pass rush room, whatever, solidify it for years, so we won't have to keep readdressing this need.
You ready to talk about this next game?
Yes, sir.
It's the Arthur Smith homecoming. We're going to Nashville. The 4-3 Falcons. I'm pretty sure the Titans are 3-4. I'll double check that when you go to your monologue.
A two
But
and
as of
four.
2-4, okay. And I know they went over to London and lost just like we did. We might be seeing Will Levis in this game. Either that, or it's Malik Willis or Ryan Tannehill. And I like our chances with this defense against any of them. It is on the road, and I do think Vrabel will have some stuff ready for us. And this is kind of where I wish we still had Rashawn Evans on the team, because that'd be another guy that'd be ready to go toe-to-toe with his old opponent, Tajay Sharp, those type of guys. I wish we still had him on the roster for a game like this, just to feel like there's more attitude there. Because we
Hey,
are
we got
really
we got Michael Pruitt.
facts. We got Michael Pruitt, we got Jonnu Smith, and yeah, that's about it, it seems, at this point. Seems like we finally decided to start getting our own guys in free agency and let our drafted players play instead of just poaching everything from the Titans. Which sidewise, I really think part of the reason the Titans started to have a downfall is the Falcons plucked so much of their depth the last couple of years. I really do think that is part of it. They are not as good of a team as they were a couple years ago because they have lost depth. Kind of like what we're seeing with the Saints this year too. That cap is finally catching up to them. They've
Hmm.
lost 4 of 5, and they're we're starting to see their downfall, which we absolutely prayed for. We'll maybe have to do a monologue at the end of the show if we have enough time about what our thoughts on the Saints issues right now. But and in regards to this game, like it's Arthur Smith going back home who survived 4 regimes and finally left under Vrabel and has coached this Falcons team to a first place spot in the NFC South right now in year 3. It's his first time going up there to face his guys, and I couldn't be more excited for this matchup. It could be another ugly like 13-10 game, but like that's just what we're signing up for at this point. Like you got the Dolphins out here scoring 30 points when they're losing, like your roommate said earlier, and those games are fun as hell to watch every 1 p.m. or even the weeks where Cincinnati or Kansas City's on at 1 p.m. Like they got some fireworks going on, but then we get to sit down and watch 13-10, 20-18 type games, and they're fight them, grind them out, bad quarterback play, young team inconsistency, full of flags. But that's just the team that we're locked into, and at least they're winning games finally. But we got to go up to Nashville and handle business this week. Big difference between 5-3 and 4-4, especially because you can't keep relying on the Saints and the Bucks to keep losing every week. The Panthers are out of the mix. As long as we end up beating them the second time, like you don't have to worry about them at all. You just got to handle business. And I had them as a split preseason. You can't split with them at this point. You got to end up sweeping them. It's a 3-man race already at this point, and the Falcons have the driver's seat. You just got to go win it now. But yeah, what are some of your biggest keys coming into this game? We'll get to the Derrick Henry part later, by the way.
I mean, Desmond Ritter has one of the few quarterbacks Desmond Ritter has been better than so far in the season is Ryan Tannehill. Tannehill's had
and Malik Willis, who we drafted. We drafted Ritter over Willis, so
Ritter. I mean, Ritter's been better than Tannehill, Levis, Willis, any quarterback. So, and it was a report today from Ian Rappaport, saying that if they do, if Ryan Tannehill doesn't in fact not play this week, they will use Will Levis and Malik Willis. That's a little.
What is this like? Matt Rule QB carousel like in Carolina, where it was like PJ, and then it was Sam Darnold, and then it was Cam. Like you're not gonna win games doing that, but sure, by all means, okay.
Yeah, that's a
This
little
defense will clamp.
interesting. Call it keep us on our toes or whatever. You think you messed that up a little bit, telling us a whole week before the game. But anyways,
If you have two
the
QBs, you have none.
yep, and the Titans went out this year and got DeAndre Hopkins. I know he's kicking himself a little bit now that he decided to go there. He could have been on a first place team over here, but anyways, Titans, they've been
Shocker
bad
that the
this year.
team that sucks. Shocker that the team that he signed with for the money sucks. He just wanted to be back in the AFC South. He missed it so much. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
You good? Yeah, the Titans been bad this year. But one person who has not been bad is a player Derrick Henry, a player that Blake wants to talk about. Um,
Yeah. Whenever you're ready.
you go ahead.
I think it's fair to say that Derrick Henry is like the Adrian Peterson of this running back generation, like where he's just ageless. Like he's good until he's like Adrian Peterson was a good running back until he was like 37 years old. Like he might have been a backup by that point, but he was serviceable. When he got carries, he was still doing what he needed to do. And that's probably what Derrick Henry is this generation. Like he's finally battled some injuries the last couple of years, but when he's on the field, he's still as good as ever. And this defense has, as you said, has allowed 1 rushing touchdown so far through 7 games. I got a feeling that's going to change on Sunday. I think they're going to give up at least 1 to him. 2, you might be having some issues because I don't trust this defense or I don't trust this offense to go score 24 plus points on the road. But if this front 7 and this run defense has a chance to stop Derrick Henry, I don't see who they can't stop. That's regarding the rest of the schedule, or if they get to the playoffs. Right now, we're set up to face like the Cowboys or the Seahawks. Are you
Seattle.
telling me that? Yeah, as of right now, it's Seattle, but there's a good chance
Yeah.
that Dallas ends up taking the 5 as well. Like, are you telling me you're scared of Tony Pollard or Kenneth Walker's pretty good? But if we can stop Derrick Henry, are Tony Pollard and Kenneth Walker going to be the guys that don't? get stopped by this defense. So I don't know, man. Like this pass defense is only going to get better. The pass rush is continuing to get better, but something that's been here since the first game of the year has been the run defense. And if they could stop Derrick Henry, I don't know who they can't stop, unless just like
Mhm.
Dante Foreman just randomly goes off again. And I'm glad that he's in Chicago and we don't have to see him till New Year's Eve instead of Carolina twice in 3 weeks. But man, it's an interesting topic to bring up because he's going to get his. And he's going to be
Mhm.
the reason the Titans are in this game and have a chance to win it, along with them being in front of their home crowd. I do expect to see some Falcons up in Nashville. I do think that some of the fan base will travel up there. Now that we're winning, the fan base is going to start to travel a little bit more, which is great to see. Of course, we're never going to have the traveling aspect that you see from like the Steelers, the 49ers, the Cowboys, the Patriots, etc. But it's good to see that we at least have some of those possibilities now. We took over Tampa Bay. All the Brady bandwagons were gone. There's a good chance we take over Carolina around Christmas time. And we have a chance to do it in Nashville again this week. And so, yeah, I mean, for the Falcons, it's just if you stop Derrick Henry, I don't know. If you're able to do that, there's no way we don't win. Like, and I don't expect Ritter to turn the ball over 3 times again. Maybe he does twice, but 2 times is definitely uh, an improvement. And I think it's easier to overcome 2 turnovers, especially if it's like one in one half, one in the other, than it is 3 in general, especially in the red zone. I just don't see that continuing to happen because he has improved week to week as much as we want to hate to admit it. But you get Bijan back, and if it is the sickness and not the groin thing, he should be fine within a week, and he'll be ready to go and say, "Hey, Derek, Arthur drafted me to be the next you," and he can get his. Allergy can look at Henry and he says, "Hey, Terry and Arthur drafted me to be Walmart you and be you on a budget," and Cordero can just be like, "Hey, I can be you, but also play 2 other positions." And we can go out of town with a 5-3 win, and it'll be a great late birthday present for me because I turned 20 on Saturday, and there's another football game on Saturday that has our teams going head to head, that has the potential to make me very sad, and I
Go
wish it was my
dogs.
no, but I wish it was my 21st and not my 20th because then I could drink it away. But I'm not quite there yet. I'm not allowed to do that yet. And yeah, maybe the Falcons winning on Sunday could be a good get back for me. But and other news to us stopping Derrick Henry. If you had to give me another defensive key and offensive key, what would it be to getting this win?
Players or like key in general? Well, key play. I'm gonna go with key players. David Onyemata for defense. He's been huge for the defense the entire season. Been a great addition, and um, he's been a run stopper, and he's a huge reason why we're one of the league with the team with the fewest rushing touchdowns in the league right now. Um, he's just a beast, and Calais Campbell, Grady Jarrett, we got beast on the line, and if they're able to stop Derrick Henry, like you said, who's going to be able to run on this defense? Um, and offensively, um,
Spoiler: I don't think they'll stop Derrick Henry. I think he'll get his like Godwin and Evans did, but I do
mhm,
think they'll do enough to make it look like he's not Derrick Henry. I do say that. I do think he'll get at least 1 touchdown though, unfortunately. But that'd be great if they
yeah,
stopped him.
and offensively, my key player is B. John Robinson. I think it'd be a nice little running back duel, running back matchup. Um, them going back and forth throwing jabs, throwing punches. And I think you know it'd be a good game. And my hot take for this game is this to be our first game where we win with a where we're not having to wait till the end of the game to kick a field goal, or I think we win this game by two scores, two or more scores, and we caught a break with us not having to face Kevin Byard after he got traded to the Philadelphia Eagles that's already stacked. But their
I'm
window
sure.
their window will be over by the time our window opens. So
I'm sure AJ Brown was excited. He's like, Howie, you did it again, buddy.
got
Because
Julio 1 week and then Kevin Byard the next.
hey, Julio might be part of the Julio and Jalen Carter might be part of the reason that the Phillies lost. Because they showed up in Phillies jerseys to each of their they both went to a Phillies playoff game in the NLCS. Well, Jalen went in the NLDS as well. But
And
that they
Jordan
hey,
Davis too.
Jordan, yeah, Jordan Davis showed up after y'all won your first ring in a Braves jersey. Jordan Davis is a Braves fan. He's just showing out for the city. And
Hmm.
Julio is a Braves fan too. Matt Ryan's a Braves fan. Julio and Matt are still best friends. You best bet that he is still a Braves fan at heart. He's just repping the current city he's in. They both show up to Phillies games. The Phillies are out. Hey, I'll give props to Carter, Davis, and Julio for that one. You jinxed the Phillies. They lost 4 of their last 5 games, and they're out. But so that's always fun to see their downfall. But yeah, anything else regarding this game that we can expect and what we hope to see? And hopefully we're talking about a 5-3 team a week from today.
Like you talked about the other week. What was it? What did you say? 4-2 is way better than 3-3. And same thing with this. 5-3 is gonna be way better than 4-4. So let's hope we get this win, and that 5-3 will look so good right beside that Falcons logo with that one beside it.
So it's fun and all to talk about the Phillies' downfall. This is a football show, and we'll get back on topic for our last topic of the night. You know, getting it to another team who we love to hate so much, and that's the New Orleans Saints, or the Aints, as Micah and I love to refer to them as. Got to talk about their downfall real quick. Currently sitting at 3-4, which that might be one game below the Falcons, but they've lost 4 of their last 5 games. Here's a stat you might not know, Micah, which might give you some confidence in regards to our likely odds of beating them this year and us truly being a better team than them this year. The New Orleans Saints have lost to the Houston Texans, the Green Bay Packers, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Falcons beat all 3 of those teams. Each team also beat the Carolina Panthers. We beat them by like 17. They beat them by like a field goal. Like it's these teams are like night and day. And part of it comes back to that depth. For years, the Saints kicked the can down the road regarding their salary cap space and them not continuing to draft well and keep their depth, and it's finally catching up with them. They've kicked the can down the road so many years with all these bad Panthers and Falcons teams in their division. And now that there's another team not named the Bucs with Tom Brady threatening their likelihood of contention, the red flags are showing. Like, I'll give them a little bit of slack for them losing Drew Brees and Sean Payton. Sure, that's part of it. We also lost Matt Ryan. Like, as much as we love to hate on Derek Carr, who definitely wasn't worth $54 million, he's a better quarterback than Desmond Ridder. Sure, probably a better quarterback than Desmond Ridder will ever be. But he still was not worth that money. So there's still no excuse. And, like,
He's
the only
been
one piece,
terrible.
absolutely terrible. And was that a surprise? No. He didn't win a single playoff game in all those years in Vegas or Oakland. And he's had Michael Crabtree, Amari Cooper, Marshawn Lynch, Josh Jacobs, Hunter Renfrow, Devontae Adams. Like, he's had
Darren
weapons on
Waller.
weapons on Darren Waller, yes. Georgia Tech and North Cobb alumni. But the dude couldn't do it out there. What made you think he's all of a sudden going to start doing it now? There's a reason that the Raiders, who are currently still in a bad spot, just like non-tendered him. Like, bye. It's just, man. And we called it from the get-go. Like, they're going to go sign Derek Carr and pretend they have no cap space. Pretend they have cap space and think it's fine. And people are already starting to turn on him. They're starting to want Jameis. I think they're one loss away from fans chanting for Jameis's name again, which is just funny as hell to see. Funny as hell to see. But yeah, they've lost 4 or 5 games. They have been like 7-9 or 7-10. Each of like 5 of the last 8 years. And even in those years they were in the playoffs, they won like 2 playoff games in those like 5 good years they had. Like, what are they, the Braves of baseball? At least the Braves won a World Series in that window, and they're not done yet. That's a story for another episode. They are currently sitting at the number 32, the last spot in cap space with
Tell me
negative
how many teams is in the NFL?
32 teams.
32 teams.
And they are 32nd out of 32 with negative 87 million in cap. They have 60 million in dead cap this year, 52 and change next year, and 28.6 and 44.3 in 2025 and 2026. The depth is gone. Breeze and Peyton can't bail them out anymore. Other teams finally have futures in their division, and they're not drafting well to replace. And the day has finally come, but the Saints are finally crashing back down to earth.
Love to see it.
Now I would love to just kick their ASS in. I really would. And I can't wait. We're gonna be there the Sunday after Thanksgiving. It's beautiful. But I had the floor for a couple minutes. Just again, because you're in Alabama, so for college, you live with more Saints fans than you used to. Just tell me what it's been like. Just like when they started 2-0, it was like, okay, we're 2-0, but it sucks they are too. Shoot, we finally broke the streak on Sunday where they lost and we lost, we won, they won. We're finally ahead of them, and I think there's clear signs showing the teams we've beaten, they've lost to, that we're a better team than they are. How are you feeling with seeing it up close and personal with where they're currently at?
I mean, I've been watching more Saints games this year than I've been watching really any year. And like not even from like a Falcons fan perspective, from a football fan perspective, Derek Carr, man, it hurts watching him play.
You
Like,
remember what Noah Long tried to tell us all summer? He tried to, and all of a sudden he's not a Saints fan anymore. All of a sudden, but we tried to tell him like, oof.
Derek Carr is he's different, and like two Saints
Patrick
players I
Mahomes money for that.
two Saints players I love on their offense from just a football fan perspective, not a Falcons fan. I love Alvin Kamara on the football field and Rashid Shaheed,
Oh,
but
I thought you were about to say Alvin and Olave. I'm about to say, oh yeah, because they're great on the football field, but off the field, they're criminals and they'll get suspended 2 years after what they did wrong. But ooh, Jake Hayner too, PEDs. Yikes.
showing that New Orleans pride. But yeah, Derek Carr, it hurts seeing Derek Carr wasting them. But I love seeing it at the same time because this what the Saints had coming to them, and Falcons the rise, they're on the downfall, and we love to see it. And just speaking about the entire South, we don't have to talk about the that team in Carolina,
And
because
we already
yeah,
talked a little too much about that team in Stinky Town, as Roddy White and Harry Douglas like to refer to them as. But
yeah, the Buccaneers had a bye week the other week, but we're in sole possession of number one. They're at 3-3, and they play the Buffalo Bills on Thursday. So two games up? Question mark. We played the Titans. They play the Bills.
mm, yeah, I gotta
And
handle
then
business, but hopefully. And who do the Saints got?
the Saints play the Colts on the road, and the Colts are
Oh,
actually favorites right now.
I could see the Saints winning that game, but if Minshew plays like he should, and that's turnover-free football that you'd love to see out of backup quarterbacks, Des, yeah, maybe they win that game at home. But I mean,
And
a little bit more worried about them beating Indy than the Bucks for sure. We
one
got
thing
lucky
that
that the Bucks won the division, so they're still playing the first place teams. But
One thing that surprised me this season is Cam Jordan is finally looking like he's finally slowing down. But you know how the Saints like to play when they play Atlanta. They want to power up and get a little boost. So I'm not gonna speak
fact,
too
they
much about
love
it right now.
they love playing us. We don't love playing them. That is
Yeah,
factual. Like they
I was
were
I was
awful last year, and they still swept us. The first game we expected, but the second one in December, no way. I mean, it was Ritter's first game, but so many players that were awful for the Saints all year, all of a sudden came back healthy and were playing like they were 3 years ago. It's just like, oh, but yeah, power up. I'm gonna have to use that one. That's a clip out. That's a clip out.
I was watching a Buccaneers game and they was talking to Cam about how the Buccaneers are a rival. He was like, yeah, the Buccaneers aren't the real rival. That's Atlanta. We still got to get the rest of the quote don't matter, but that just shows how much Atlanta is in his head. Atlanta is in New Orleans' head. We're you
Yeah,
know
he made a hate tweet when Nielsen signed here. It's like, bro. I mean, I kind of like it. I love that. That's one part I do respect about Cam Jordan is he does make the rivalry good. And
Yeah.
and he's gonna go to the Hall of Fame because of all the times he blew past our battle lines to sack Matt Ryan. Like, sure, that's cool, good for you, but gosh, yeah,
I really can't hate on Cam Jordan though because he backs up his talk with his play, and
yeah,
it's never nothing like disrespectful, and he's not a dirty player. So
yeah. He's gonna
I
be a
could
good media person after he
yeah
retires for sure.
I could respect Cam Jordan. Same thing with Demario Davis too. So, but I'm starting to see them both slow
I don't like
down.
Demario.
I like Demario as a person. Watching his post game pressers and all that. But yeah, it's nice seeing them slow down, and hopefully they don't get that power up against against us.
Well, that's why I think us being in person might change some things. Maybe we're gonna be the ultra factor to us winning. But we're 90 minutes into the show, and honestly, it was a good one. Again, we're sorry guys for missing that Washington episode. We just Micah, Dylan, and I all together just couldn't find enough time, and Connor was MIA on us. But yeah, the Hawks start tomorrow. We should finally have our Braves recap episode out now that we've slept on it. We've seen the Phillies lose. We're ready to fully talk about it. Dylan and I should to dive into things, and Micah, of course, you're free to join us too as well. And yeah, Hawk shows are coming real soon. Like they play on today's calendar day, so hopefully we don't lose to Charlotte again to start the year. That
Man, don't even
that
get me
was
started.
I mean, hey, they say we say we're around the A, right? I'm repping the Falcons right now. I got the Falcons hat. I got the Hawks hoodie. And importantly, I got the Braves pennant winning shirt on because that's something the Phillies couldn't accomplish tonight. But yeah,
The
I got all three
shade.
teams on me right now. Oh, I can put sunglasses on for the shade as well, but I'll save that for another episode. But yeah, it was a great one, and hopefully the Falcons end up moving to 5-3, and we have a stress-free World Series for the Braves. I still hope the Rangers win for some of my buddies. But a stress-free World Series, no Astros. I don't really hate the Astros like that. It's especially now that they're not cheaters anymore. They did clear their name last year. Only guy who's left on that team as a cheater is Bregman. But it's good to see a different team not named the Astros, and we didn't get a rematch, and we didn't get our rival in. So stress-free World Series. We'll be back for the Falcons again next week, and for the Hawks, our first episode should be coming up probably in the next couple days. Micah, we might have to do like a back-to-back recording thing where like we do that Braves recap with Dylan, and then if he has to go, you and I do like our Hawks um preview show. So whatever day you're more free, we might let's plan on doing that Thursday because I got a game to do Friday. I'm sure you'll have something going on Friday. Dylan might have stuff going on Friday. So hopefully Thursday night, and you guys will see it Friday. You'll see our Braves NLDS recap show and the Hawks preview show. We'll at least try to get one of them done. We'll lean into one of them. But yeah, we appreciate your guys' time tonight. And any last thing for the viewers, Micah?
Rise up, go Hawks. Let's go 1-0 tomorrow, and
Yeah.
Braves will coming back next year. Let's go.
Not with this pitching, they're not. Not with this pitching and with the feeble clubhouse vibes they have. But I love your thoughts. I've been fooled the last few years. I won't be fooled again.
Alex,
We'll leave that for the
Alex
we'll
know
leave that
what
for
we
the
need
Braves.
this year.
Well, he said that last year, and he went out and got an all-star catcher who was terrible in the second half. So we'll see what happens, but we'll leave that for the next episode. We're sorry for wasting y'all's time tonight. Thank you for spending 93 minutes and change with us talking Falcons football. Shout out to Mr. Matt Carter if he's listening. He said he was going to listen to our podcast at my grandfather's 92nd birthday. So if you'd ended up making it to this point, shout out to you, Mr. Carter, Mr. Matt, and go Gators this weekend for you as well. But
Go
yeah, thank you
dogs.
guys. No, he didn't say nothing. Cut his mic. But
Yeah.
I'm gonna cut your mic right now. Yada, yada, yada. But we appreciate you guys watching us, and we'll talk to you next time. So go Braves, go Hawks, go Falcons. If you see us on any platform, whether it's something of Micah's, something of mine, a clip out, a full video, if it's audio only, which we do plan on dropping soon. We really appreciate the support. We're continuing to get more consistent for you guys. We'll get Dylan and Connor more in the fold in the future. We'll get college shows back as well. And this is only the beginning for Around the A and the beginning of the Falcons window. See you guys next week. Let's go 5-3, baby. Yes,
Yes,
sir, young
sir.
way.